you tell me a little bit about your involvement within the cattle industry, where you're located, basically what you do within the cattle industry?
Sure. My name is Dan Rorvig. I'm from McVille, North Dakota. I currently serve as president of the North Dakota Stockmen's Association. And my family and I, we raise a cow-calf operation with some backgrounding lots, and we develop bred heifers and run some grass cattle. So we're, at the grassroots level in the cow business, we're kind of the photo child of it. So that's our involvement, cow-calf backgrounding, grass cattle, and it's a family-run operation here in eastern North Dakota.
So, with the current situation in the cattle industry and cattle market struggling, what do you feel are the biggest issues facing our industry?
Well, right now the biggest issue, everybody's trying to make the real issue today, of course, is the COVID virus and the disruptions in what our normal marketing plans are, and the fact that a whole lot of our consumers, there's just a terrible lot of uncertainty in their life right now, and that's what's driving this market today. Everybody's trying to make it a bigger picture than that, but it's the uncertainty caused by this COVID deal, and keep in mind that normally at this time 50% of our beef trade would be going through the restaurants, and those restaurants aren't functioning and haven't for what, 5-6 weeks now.
Yeah.
We're seeing a little bit of at least in North Dakota, some of these restaurants are getting a little bit of clearance to open. They're at 50% capacity and probably without a staff, and that's what's driving this market right now, is this terrible uncertainty caused by this COVID virus.
What is going to solve these problems within the cattle markets?
I don't know. There is absolutely no simple answer. If there would have been a simple answer, we would have figured this out a while ago. None of these issues are new. They've been brought to the forefront here in the last 6-8 months by, of course, we had that Tyson fire that disrupted the normal operations, and then we had this COVID pandemic that disrupted normal operations. In the big picture, what's going to solve it? I don't know. If it was an easy answer, we would have come up with it a long time ago. We'd like to see more packers out there. Of course, that's a given. That would, add competition to the market. I don't know if it's, politics or economics that have driven us to this point, but that's, of course, everybody wants to point their fingers at that, and we hope we can get some answers. Our organization, along with many other livestock organizations, has signed on to letters at both the Department of Justice and the USDA looking into investigations. We want to keep everybody honest, and I guess that's what we're trying to do, and just try to make this market work a little bit better for us folks.
How do we create more competition within the cattle markets? That's been a big topic of discussion as of late.
I don't know. I don't think we can mandate everything in the world. We like to think we're independent and we can operate on our own and think for ourselves. And now everybody's screaming for a mandate of this and a mandate of that. And I'm not so sure that that's the answer. There's a lot of these things get to be emotional issues that's make you feel all warm and fuzzy, but when it boils down to it, it's dollars and cents and economics. How do we create more competition? On a really small scale, and I'm talking really, really small scale, it would be great if we could even see more little Main Street butcher shops that would get some of this product directly to the consumer. That's not the answer in the big picture, but it would sure be nice for some of the local consumers to have this. As producers, we want to try to differentiate our products and show that we've added value, and those are some things we can do. We're going to fight these small number of large packers probably for forever. Yeah, we need some more small Main Street packers would be good. We know those mid-sized ones have troubles, that's for sure.
Right.
But any of those things would help. Just to continue to have more options out there.
How do you see these tough times within the cattle markets affecting your area and rural America as a whole?
Oh, it's a financial bloodbath right now. I mean, we're eating equity like crazy. In just about in many segments. In many segments of the cattle industry, I don't care if you're in the cow-calf world or the feedlot world, we're eating equity here and trying to operate at these price levels isn't working the way we'd like it to. That's for sure.
There have been various proposals brought forward in the past couple months regarding negotiated cash trade, and we touched on this a few minutes ago. But do you feel there is a certain level of negotiated cash trade that needs to be implemented in order to achieve more competitive markets?
I don't play in that world, so it's hard for me to give you a real gut feel on it. When you see that only 20% of the cattle are getting priced on a negotiated deal, and the balance of the cattle are priced off those formulas, that does seem really thin. That seems like a really thin, stagnant little market. The other thing I see and hear that I don't like is I'd like to have not only a larger sampling of those cattle, but a better sampling of those cattle. And by that, I mean, cattle that meet CME specs. I don't, and maybe they police this to some degree, but in that thin market, if you throw in a bunch of Mexican cattle or thin-hided cattle or dairy-bred cattle, it's going to really affect that small sampling. So that's, I think, another thing that maybe we could look at. What that perfect percentage is, I don't know. That you hear different numbers. I think currently we think it's happening at 20%. A greater number than that, I think, would be to our advantage. To think that you're going to get a large number, 50% or greater, I don't think that's going to happen, because apparently there's a certain percentage of the operations in the world that are in favor of that particular formula pricing. So, our organization, in fact, we're studying these various proposals right now, trying to gather information for our directors and our membership, because, and I'm going to tell you, I'm one of them. I don't truly understand it because I don't play in that world. And if you don't have your checkbook in the situation, you probably aren't really paying attention. So we're gathering information right now on some of these various proposals, and so we as an association can get some direction on the way we want to go on this thing.
In that statement you just made, you mentioned the CME Board of Trade. Many folks use the CME as for price protection. What is your take on the CME? Is it still a viable tool? We have seen it bounce around up and down, major highs and lows over the past 2 months.
Yeah, it's terribly volatile. I'm not going to say it's bad. If you don't like it, don't use it. But I think there's a place for it. Those who use it, and we use it occasionally. It's one of the tools we've got in our toolbox. If you don't like the tool, don't use it.
What do you see? What can independent producers, any of us out here in agriculture, do to help our current situation? What do you feel would be beneficial for us to have our voices be heard?
There is no simple solution. Otherwise we would have, my dad's generation would have fixed it.
Yeah.
So, we just keep wrestling this alligator. So there is no simple solution. We've got, and we do it to ourselves. We've got a huge mountain of meat we got to work our way through. There's record amounts of protein out there that we need to work our way through. That's an issue. We need to get through this coronavirus. That's an issue. And we need to be ready for the next coronavirus, because there's always been one. We've been through the AIDS epidemic. We've been through SARS. We've been through, I don't even remember the acronyms. So, there will be another one. We hope we can keep that food supply chain moving. It's important to our consumers to have a constant, steady, reliable source of food. It's super important to our producers to have a constant, steady demand for our product.
Right.
There are no simple answers, and I think we'll keep studying and try to come up with some. But it isn't easy. There is no easy answer right now. That is the one thing we do know.
Right. So to sum this whole conversation up, can you say in one sentence what the cattle industry needs most right now?
In the short term, in the very short term, we need this country to get back to work. We need to get back to normal, whatever the heck normal is. We need to get back to that. That's what we need in the short term. We need to get consumers working again and getting a paycheck and being confident that they're going to have a job over the next days, weeks, months, years. That's number one. Number two, we need to keep selling our product as a safe, affordable product for our consumers. We need to have a steady, constant supply chain that'll keep moving this product. We need to keep our consumer demand both domestically and internationally strong. There is no one answer. Those are all the things that we have to do kind of in unison to keep the wheels turning on this thing.
Right. So do you have any other closing statements that you'd like to make about the current situation with our cattle markets and what you're seeing essentially in the cattle industry, folks you've talked to?
Well, what I would say is, folks, we got to get back to work.
Yep.
In the coronavirus situation, if because of age or health or geography or whatever else, your health is compromised, do the right thing and take care of yourself. Otherwise, folks, we got to get the wheels rolling on this economy again. No, and the COVID virus has just, of course, brought it to its head, and the world is trying to tie every crisis in the world that's into the big picture, and some of these things are short-term issues, some are long-term issues, and people forget the fact that we've got a lot of meat out there.
Yeah.
We've got a huge pile of protein that we need to keep rolling.
Yeah.
And there is no doubt we need more packers, but I don't know how you dictate or mandate that. Supply and demand and economies of scale still drive some of this stuff. Now, do you need to hold their feet to the fire once in a while and keep them honest? You bet. Power corrupts. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
So you got to hold their feet to the fire once in a while. I don't know that you can dictate or mandate that thou shalt have 8 packing plants or 82 packing plants. Mm-hmm. That's not how the world works. But those are the issues. They're big issues. They've been around for a long time, and we have a heck of a time getting our arms around it. That is for sure.
Yeah.